synchronous tasks to happen before it finally ran that function. It logged all 4 things. And of course, we can mix and match that with the regular deferred. So we can make a deferred that does something asynchronous, in this case, resolve after 4 seconds. And then we also do that name function. So we're communicating with the server in one step, we're delaying for 4 seconds in another step, and when both of those happen, then log that information. And this is what I wanted to talk about earlier, which was the cache part. I can now save a cache of that name if I wanted to. And so when I'm going to the server, I can return either the data or I can return this cache data. And because I'm just returning content still, when doesn't care what happens. So I say when get name, and then I use my regular done function stuff that we've been doing this whole time. I don't have to know that that's cached. I have no knowledge of that in this code. Yet I get the same name twice from a randomly generated function. And that should happen twice if I do it again. So that's pretty bitchy. But that's not it. Animate also takes advantage of deferreds now. It actually takes advantage of them internally. If you want to know more about animation stuff, you can talk to Corey Frame, who's way smarter than me about all of this stuff. But in this case, we have, let's skip this part, sorry. Get to the good stuff. There we go. So we made a function called drop. All it does is animate the balls, or the element itself, the bottom to 0 in X time. So we have this plugin. So I have 3 of these elements, A, B, and C, and I'm lowering them down, and I'm even stopping one after a second on line 6, 7, and 8. But still, on line 10, I'm able to just throw these jQuery elements into when. And when all of those are done animating, I get the result of all of that. And you have a complete handler available on animations, but that gives you a handler for every single animation. So this is great when you have multiple things happening. And do the same thing here with like animations and Ajax. So imagine like you have some login form, so you're like doing an animation for the login form, but you're also communicating with the server to get data. And when both of those actually happen, then you display something. This is the kind of tool you would use so that you know both of these asynchronous things have happened. Now I can move forward, which is nice when you want to do things in parallel. Let's see, what do we have, 5 minutes-ish? Okay, I wanted to leave some time for questions. All right, so one good application that can help to help you visualize the actual need or desire to use deferreds would be something like having services on the web that get user data, maybe a template. So in this case, get user by ID is just going to get some information about them, assumingly. I'm just getting the ID back. So I say in line 7, when you get this ID of the person, log in. And that's just logging the same ID back. So we're not actually doing a lot for the example, but ideally we'd be getting their name and email and all kinds of cool stuff. And now we have this function that we can kind of mess with. We could say, well, no, get user, instead of returning an Ajax request, I'll just put in a static object for testing. So now when I run lines 5, 6, and 7, I'm not actually changing any of my code, the actual implementation of that. I can send back a static object, or I can send back this Ajax request, and I can test it against different values. So that's kind of neat for testing, that I don't have to change my actual implementation to test. For testing an Ajax, that's used to be a really big pain in the ass. And so we could use that when we're having the situation of templates and data and rendering. We have these kind of multiple processes going on. So we could say, well, I want to make a function that's going to get the template, app.getTemplate, and it'll get the template from the server, and if it's already got the template from the server, it'll cache it. Easy process here. Line 8, it assigns the cache, and then on line 5, or line 4 rather, it returns the cache if it's available, otherwise the Ajax request. And we'll have another function declared to get the user data. So get the user, use the user ID, go to the server, get the information on the user. So now we just say, well, when get template and when get user data, done, use both of these things when this is happening. And so we're able to do both processes at the same time, which were 2 AJAX requests. So hopefully this ended up being faster. The user didn't see much delay, and we're able to render the template, put the user data into it, and append it to where it needs to go. And pretty simply, too. So I'm hoping there might be some questions.
So, sweet. So give a big round of applause for